Hello everybody, Fast Tippy here tonight, and we are looking at a round 2 match of the Argent Arena versus Linne, or NPC in this case, and GoXDs. Linne's playing Kallistar and GoXDs is playing Eligor. I'm really excited to see some Kallistar. She's one of my favorite characters. I think she's flexible and powerful. And Eligor is one of the top characters in the current rotation, so this should be an excellent game. Linne starts out with Volcanic Dodge, and this kind of shows, as you'll see through this match, that Linne tries to play around Eligor as much as she can, and she does this in a variety of ways, using dodges, as she does here, underspeeding Eligor when she can, as she does this beat, and also basically just avoiding hitting him at all. A lot of Eligor's styles and abilities rely on trading, getting hit and hitting back, and if you can manipulate your speed and just avoid hitting Eligor, often you can beat him. So this is an example by underspeeding at Retribution. Eligor is not able to get the ability to close, and so he just misses. And Kallistar is able to get a completely free beat here. So Eligor does gain some vengeance tokens, but Kallistar was able to get a free beat. So now as we move on to beat 2, Kallistar will play, let's see, at this range they're about 4 away, so they're probably going to play a shot, which would make sense given the distance. We'll see what Linne does. Linne does play Caustic Shot. Caustic is pretty good against Eligor because, again, Eligor likes to trade, and Eligor isn't about dealing damage, he's more about soaking. So playing soaking styles against him will result in Eligor being much less effective. So we move into the clash phase again. We're clashing away here. We'll see what we finally land on. We land on Caustic Dodge and Counterburst. And so this ends up kind of being a everybody miss beat. Linne will advance past Eligor. Eligor will then burst away, and there'll be a lot of missing and a lot of crying, and that'll all happen. So yeah, that's how that beat goes. What is good here is Eligor sets up center board position, which is excellent, especially given that his opponent's dodge is down. So we will now move into beat 3. So beat 3, Linne plays Ignition Shot, which I think is pretty gutsy at this point, because I would expect a drive considering your opponent's at center, but we'll see what their opponent is doing. Yeah, Ignition Shot is pretty scary because your opponent could definitely drive you down. I guess he does have the soak one, so he can take it, but we'll see what happens. So his opponent plays Martial Shot. We're still clashing. 3 beats in a row of clashing a lot, and we land on Ignition Strike and Martial Drive. So like I said, his opponent could have driven before. If his opponent would have started with the drive, he actually would have been able to close and stun out. But as it is, Linne was able to switch into Strike, where she could take the blow and deal the damage back. So that is what's going to happen. But what you'll notice here is, again, Linne is able to underspeed Eligor, and so his ability Martial is just much less effective when you underspeed him. Now that we're moving into Kallistar's Super Death form, it's going to be much harder for her to underspeed, and much harder for her to avoid hitting his opponent. So we'll see where we go from here. So beat 5, no, this is beat 4. Beat 4, Kallistar plays Volcanic Burst. Yeah, really, Linne just wants to set up range and get away from Eligor, and most interestingly, and this is another thing I mentioned about this match, is that sometimes the best move against Eligor is to not hit him at all. And Volcanic Burst actually gives you the option, if you want to just miss. And so what ends up happening here is, since GoXDS plays Retribution Aegis, Linne decides to just burst back 1. And by bursting back 1, instead of bursting back 2, Linne actually just completely misses her opponent, and because of that, GoXDS basically stands there and does nothing, while at the same time anting 4 tokens and 2 force. So this is a huge beat for Linne, and really puts her quite ahead. So if you're playing Kallistar, you can expect your opponent to dodge a lot, because every beat that you're standing there, you're taking a damage. And so what I think happens this beat is perhaps Kallistar was going for either the call on the dodge, or just expect his opponent dodge anyway. So was just basically counter dodging to reposition. And when I play Kallistar, I find it incredibly hard to dodge while in flame form, but apparently Linne does not have this problem. But it just hurts. It hurts me to dodge while I'm in flame form. But apparently you could do it and it doesn't kill you. But I don't believe it. So let's see. So beat 6. Linne recognizes that GoXDS's dodge is down, and she decides to play one of her minimum range moves, which is Flare Spellbolt. Now his opponent could play a drive of some sort, but Flare Spellbolt with priority up will be able to outspeed it. So Linne will be able to get a nice hit in here. Now GoXDS smartly played Vengeful Strike here, which allows him to take this move and then strike back. But he still very much loses this beat by 3 life, 8 to 5. So at the same time, Kallistar is taking a damage turn after turn, so it's not as bad as it looks, but it is pretty painful for GoXDS. So this means that Kallistar will now go back to her human form, and in the human form, she could do some of the tactics I talked about earlier about underspeeding Eligor and basically playing defensive, not dealing damage when she doesn't want to, and underspeeding when she can. And so Linne plays Caustic Drive here against his opponent. Opponent antes a lot of Vengeance here, looks like. Oh, I guess just 2. Not too bad. And we'll see what happens this beat. So GoXDS plays Martial Shot, and Linne does a pretty interesting move here. If Linne were to hit Eligor, it would effectively give him +4 damage, and it would give him more resources. And so Linne just decides to dodge him and just misses him with the drive by advancing 2. By doing this, since Linne played Caustic, she actually only takes 1 damage, and GoXDS does not benefit of gaining any additional Vengeance counters or the additional 4 damage, which he would have done. So now we're moving into beat 9, or beat 8, and Linne plays Volcanic Dodge. This is a good repositioning move. Volcanic Dodge is very useful because the Volcanic allows you to reposition anywhere after the end of the beat. She tries to anti-power here to kind of go XDS into anting back, but GoXDS was also playing dodge, so it really didn't do anything. So now both of their dodges are down, and yeah, both their dodges are down, which means they'll probably try to pay off this turn. We'll see what happens. So Linne falls back to the far corner, and you would think that Linne would play a long-range move here, something like Spell Bolt, but instead she plays Ignition Grasp, and I was very confused by this. I couldn't understand why she would play a move that would just intentionally miss like this, but it all made a lot of sense when I see what their opponent flipped, and their opponent flipped Retribution Strike. So what Linne was doing was calling out this Retribution. By playing Ignition Grasp, she misses, and her opponent is not able to use Retribution's ability to close in and strike back. And so Linne is able to successfully get into the elemental form without taking any damage this beat. So now we're moving into beat 10. Linne plays Caustic Spellbolt. This is pretty good because their advancing moves are very limited here, and so you're able to use your Spellbolt safely. And Caustic allows you to stun them, which is really good against Eligor. Eligor, I guess, may have been able to play a fast drive-like move here, but instead is anting their stun guard a ton, which is not looking good for GoXDS considering his opponent played Caustic. And as it turns out, Eligor was actually going for Sweet Revenge here, and Sweet Revenge is a extremely powerful move. I guess he was expecting some sort of drive or something that would get within the 1 to 2 range of Sweet Revenge, but as it turns out, his opponent was playing Caustic, and so this means that he's actually going to stun him, and the Sweet Revenge won't actually be able to strike back. So I guess he was calling some sort of Spell Bolt, but not Caustic Spell Bolt. So yikes. So now we are moving into beat 11, and it's looking pretty scary for Eligor. And then Linne plays another pretty crazy, to me, move, I guess. Well, actually, Flare Dodge makes sense. She wants to get out of Flame Form, which is Flare, and she also wants to be safe, and so she plays Dodge. So actually, this isn't as crazy as it looks. It is funny that he antis the force to kind of go XDS in the anting force and keeping his force gauge lower, and go bites and plays additional power here, even though Linne was dodging. So we are now moving into beat 12. And, Eligor's at 1 life, Linne's at 5, so Eligor has to play very defensively here and try to set up for that one big payoff turn. And so, to be safe, Linne actually decides to play, let's see what she decides to play. Decides to play, yes, a fast move, Blazing Grass. Blazing Grass is one of Kallistar's great moves, especially, his opponent's at 1, but being able to get that after move with this high speed allows Blazing to be a very safe move. Basically, you can counter any melee attacks, and if they play any range attacks, you can often do an after move to avoid getting hit afterwards. Eligor, being at 1 life, is playing very defensively and plays Switch Dodge, trying to get some additional force gauge so that they can try to calm it against Linne's force gauge of 8 right now, which is pretty crazy. So Linne positions in a way to put herself at range. Kallistar is somewhat of a ranger character, so this further range definitely favors Linne. So now we are moving into Beat 13. Beat 13, Linne plays Caustic Spellbolt. Caustic is a very safe move here and allows a really good trade. And at this point, if Linne is able to connect even once, Eligor is going to be in a lot of trouble. So Eligor starts anting vengeance counters like crazy. This indicates that he's probably playing Aegis. We'll see what's happening. So he plays Chained Aegis, and the problem here with Chained Aegis is that Eligor antied 4 counters, and if Kallistar would have went for a higher damage attack, this would work out in his favor. But as it is, Kallistar actually ends up hitting GoXDs for 0 because of the Aegis soak, and because he takes 0, he is unable to use Chain to pull his opponent in. In any case, he still uses the 1 counter to get in a more favorable position. Like I said, Kallistar is somewhat of a ranger, and I think GoXDs doesn't feel comfortable trying to fight at long range against Kallistar. So now we're moving into Beat 14, and this is kind of the point of the game where if you're in Linne's seat, I think she smells a timeout victory. And so she actually plays Switch Dodge here. Basically, at this point, I think she's just going for either safe attacks or by timing out the clock. And by doing this move, she's able to get to that 15th and final beat safely. A whole bunch of force anting goes on. So again, this is just a funny example of anting when you're playing dodge and how that causes your opponent to counter ante. So it's the old poker motto: go all in when you got nothing. So as it goes, Linne is able to advance past Eligor here, and because Eligor plays drive, he's actually going to be forced to advance into the corner. Now, if I was Kallistar here, I probably would do the finisher, because the finisher is just cool, and if you're going to get eliminated at the end of beat, I mean, you might as well go for the kill. But saying that, GoXDs actually has the dodge, so if you go for the finisher, GoXDs could just kill you. So I doubt that Linne's going to go that way, but, you know, it's just fun. Instead, Linne goes for Flare Grasp, so she's going for the fastest stinking move possible. If GoXDs dodges here, he will lose 5-1 at the end of beat 15. So that means GoXDs has to play some sort of active attack, and Linne is hedging on just outspeeding him. And we'll see how this works out, but a lot of anting goes on here. There's force, there's priority, and the cards flip over, and it's Vengeful Shot. So as it turns out, Linne is going to super ultra speed against Eligor here and be able to finish him off before GoXDs is able to hit him. So this was a great game. I really like the fact that Linne used positioning, used going slow, used a lot of different abilities throughout this game to beat Eligor, not by dealing damage, but by putting herself into advantageous positions. Alright, anyway, I hope you loved watching this as much as I did, and take it easy, everybody. Bye.